Hello, and welcome to the Humanity of Sales, where purpose meets profit. I am giddy with the guest that we have today. I just adore him. We are bringing on Tony D'Amelio, who is the founder of D'Amelio Network, and he shows up from a place of service always. Service and purpose, and with our tagline being where purpose meets profit. This is important. Maybe we'll even get to talk a little bit about that profitability and the role that humanity plays in it. I mean, Harvard Business Review says that companies who come from that sense, a strong sense of purpose, actually outperform other companies by 42%. So, how are you showing up? Are you showing up from a place of service and purpose? Now, who knows where the conversation is going to go today? I'm hoping that we'll talk about music and values and, yes, that purpose, and maybe even a pet peeve. Listen in to Tony's answer because I think I might throw that one at him first. Come on in, join me. So, we are here at the Humanity of Sales where purpose meets profit. And I can't even tell you how excited I am to introduce you to my guest today. Tony D'Amelio is the founder of D'Amelio Network, and he has devoted his 50 plus, don't tell him that I'm letting that on, years in his career to bringing ideas and audiences together. He's also someone that I've come to know and respect as super smart and generous of heart. And I'm very, very excited to bring him on here with you today. Tony, I'm going to start with something that I hadn't planned because of the conversation we had right before we hit record. And I want to know what your pet peeve is, and I want you to share it with my audience today.
Heather, thanks for making time and including me here. It's really an honor and a privilege. Um, you know, we're living in a world where the humanity is getting wrung out of business. And uh, my pet peeve, because we have to do so much communication by email, used to be telephone, used to hear that voice at the other end of the line, not hearing that anymore. How do you make sure that the person you are sending an email to knows there's a real person at the other end of that communication and it's not a bot or an AI agent, which there's going to be more and more of, and we become immune to that kind of communication? So, my number one pet peeve now, and real humans are doing it, it's not bots, real humans are doing it. They start their emails with, "I hope this finds you well," in one version or another. That's the first sentence. And what irritates me about that is that the people who are doing that do not understand that they have a split second of my attention to get me to think there's something here or this is just more pablum. And I think the much stronger way for anybody to open up any email communication, it doesn't matter what the communication is. Make sure that a person at the other end of the line knows it's a real person, you, that's communicating. It could be, hey, it's a really cloudy, crappy day here in New York City. I hope you've got better weather than us. Or, I just had a great weekend, going to a Yankees game and hope you had a relaxing weekend too. Something that isn't pedantic, something that just isn't pro forma, something that stands out. But if I look, 8 out of 10 emails will start with that
Yeah.
sentence. And it just think like a tabloid headline expert. And if you
Mhm.
think like a tabloid headline expert, both with your opening line and with your subject line, you have a chance of getting people to understand your personality, that you're a real human being, and that they should pay attention to you.
I love this because it's one of those things you think you're being nice. And I've done this. I've done your pet peeve. And thank goodness you didn't delete me and we, never got to this place right here. But as soon as you say it, you think you're being nice, but it's just so common and vanilla and it doesn't show the relationship. And you know that I'm all about the humanity, the relationship, the connection points. And so being able to, I always have something else I could say that relates, right? That can make that connection point. And I love that this is a pet peeve for you because now I will never start a sentence, an email that way again. So thank you. We can stop right here. I got something out of this, but we're not going to.
The other thing is, I mean, I'm not saying don't say it. You can put it at the end. But I was always taught that real estate in letters, real estate in articles, real estate then in emails, as I've grown up, in business, was precious. And you're writing for a reason. Let the person know why you're writing.
Yeah.
Um, it's like, writing a news article, who, what, where, when, that kind of stuff. You've got to give them, okay, I understand what this is about. And at the very end, you can say, hey, I hope you're having a great week. There's
Right.
nothing wrong with that. It's just the idea that it's misplaced wastes their attention, and it pushes, they're still not sure after the first paragraph what it is you want. So you can make a much stronger case.
Yeah, they're
Uh,
not even going to get to the second paragraph. So I do really like that because of the fact that it's distracted. It's a distracted world.
yeah, it
And so
is.
we need to grab attention and you're really good.
And it's an inhuman world in terms of the AI
It
piece to
is.
this. The amount of content that I see that's out there that's AI driven. And I saw a wonderful article in the New York Times, a writer who's well known, who I can't remember, gave Chat GPT a bunch of a setup for a story, a short story.
Mhm.
These are the characters, this situation, and AI wrote the story. Then this author wrote the story. So there were two versions, an AI
Oh,
generated and a human generated.
yeah.
And the point was, can you tell the difference? Now, it was a coin toss, right? It was 50-50 flip. Um, but I look at them both and I go, I think I know which one it is. It's this one. And it turned out to be right. Again, it was a coin toss. You could have been wrong just as well as you were right. But there is a feel, I think, that comes with reading something that's written by a real human being. It's just
Mhm.
different. And don't lose that in a world where um, it's the defining differentiation.
It is. And I'm glad that you used the word feel. There is a feel to it. And that's the whole reason why I do what I do is to help people feel something, right? And I know you're really good at that. Now, I know we've been talking about humanity when it comes to your communication, but I'd like to know your thoughts on what role, if any, that you believe humanity has in business overall beyond this. Like what do you think are the most important parts of it?
Boy, I mean,
I
humanity is
mean, it's not an easy question.
no, no. Yeah, no, humanity is everything. If you take it from an organizational side, um, people are our most important organizational asset. Treating them with dignity, treating them with humanity, gets from them greater engagement, gets greater fulfillment, all of the good things that you want them to feel that translate into profitability and growth on the business side are absolutely part of it. And so, certainly on an organizational front, humanity and leadership's treatment of the people in the organization, uh, that whole thought process about how we treat people has changed. On selling, um, I, I spent 27 years with a company called the Washington Speakers Bureau, and I worked with lots of people on Wall Street. I was based in New York, and I had a lot of Wall Street clients. And back in '07, I started to get people calling me about hey, have you got an expert on subprime mortgages? No idea what that was, but my job is to, you know, help my clients be smarter. So as I'm talking with other clients, I'm telling them, hey, I'm starting to hear this rumbling and interest in subprime mortgages. Have you got any interest in that? Those folks would wind up going back to their leadership and coming back to me and saying, yeah, there really seems to be something there. Who have you got? My point is, the humanity in that is that my belief was my job is in that role of bringing my talent to their events was to make them smarter. How can I show them how to leverage the intellectual abilities of the different people who we had available on the economy, on current events, on American politics, on innovation, on leadership, on all of those things? How could I show them how to leverage those in a way that made them smarter, made them better at their jobs, but the other piece to that made them look good to their boss?
Yes.
And because everybody's got a boss and they want to shine, they want to stand out. And I could be a yes no guy. I could be a person who, when they call and ask for something, I just give them the answers. But if I take the time to tell them a story, to go deeper, to explain why something is important, if they know the why and they've got a story that they can tell their boss, suddenly they understand it in a way that they didn't. It telling that story, by the way, is also selfish on my part because it helped me get better at what I was doing,
Hmm.
helped me synthesize all of these different things because we had some of the greatest minds in the world that I was working with. Um, Brilliant, brilliant people. And I was getting all this information from all of them all the time. And the biggest challenge in that case, without AI at my side, was taking those disparate ideas and somehow connecting the dots, making an understanding for myself. And in talking it through, which is what I'm doing with you right now, I'm doing the same with them.
Yes.
I'm connecting the dots. I'm getting better at it. I'm making them smarter. They then look smart to their bosses. And in the process, they would trust me uh, as the first go to person when things came up. And that's the benefit of making sure that you're not transactional, that you really do bring your humanity into everything you do.
It's so
Trust.
so spot on. You said it, instead of being that yes, no guy, going further, going deeper, educating them, telling stories, that's how we connect heart to heart. That's how we open minds, and touch hearts. And so I think that right there is the building of trust. It's the building of trust that you do so well and have done through the years, because if you can give them something that they need, you're going to be that go-to guy, right? And so, yeah,
Absolutely. You
yeah.
know, it's like going to a doctor and the doctor says, you need this done.
Hmm.
And okay, he's the expert. But if that person, that doctor sits down with you and says, listen, let me explain to you what's going on. And let me tell you what can happen if you don't deal with it. And this is what will happen if we do deal with it. And here are the risks if you deal with it.
Hmm.
Doctors go through that kind of conversation all the time. They
Hmm.
make their patients smarter. And it's just literally taking the same kind of thing that any doctor or professional would do, looking at the options that their client has at the fork in the road, explaining the benefits and downsides to all of it. And in the process, showing them that you care about them. It's not about anything other than you want them to make the choice that they find most comfortable.
Yeah.
And it's second nature to me, but it's not. I'm stunned many times to find out that it's not second.
It's not common.
Yeah,
So it's something that's second nature to you and I, is a differentiator, right? It's a differentiator in today's world. But I want to continue the conversation about storytelling for a moment because I think it may tie in to a previous conversation that you and I had about like pricing And I think a lot of times my clients are coming to me wanting advice on that pricing conversation. And you have a really interesting take on that, and it involves stories, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I think when it comes to pricing, inevitably there are people, in my case, they say they want a particular speaker. They only have a certain amount of money and they're $5,000 short of what the regular fee is. And my job is to explain to them why that's not going to work and give them a chance to go back to their boss and not say, well, they turned us down. Want them to be able to go back and say, well, I offered the lesser price, but it's not going to work because that speaker only does a certain number of events every year. And they have more inquiries and more offers than they have space for. So for them to do something at less money means that they're giving up the opportunity to sell what that date or a date at full price. And it just doesn't make sense to them. I mean, that's a simple
Hmm.
instance of where one of our people, that's their situation. They only do so many, and they're not going to budge. They believe in price integrity, and my job is to make sure that when that person goes away, they don't feel like I wasn't helpful.
Yeah.
They feel like they don't feel bad about having made the offer at a lesser price because a lot of times people do. But they wound up understanding why it can't be done. And here's the real interesting thing. And my team has learned from me on this. Um, People who are in sales are all they want to do is make the sale.
Hmm.
My job as a manager of talent is to make sure the talent is has an advocate. It's not about making the sale. It's about the fee integrity that
Mm.
the talent has about someone looking out for them. So 90% of the time, when I tell that story to someone who offers a lesser number, maybe 95% of the time, they come back with a full fee.
I love that. And I can go on my soapbox about price integrity in the industry because it's gotten a little bit interesting over the last several years, to be honest. But one of the things that I think you and I agree on is that you don't necessarily have to go down in your price, but you can offer more value. Do you want to speak to
Yes,
your approach
absolutely,
to value?
without question. That's
Yeah.
the flip side. How about
Mhm.
if I do, an article, do a podcast, do a roundtable session with your key, your best performers, or whatever it might be. Just somehow find a way to add value
Mhm.
is always a better way to go than cutting price for sure.
I agree completely. All right, I'm going to go back. I'm going to go back to music.
Mm,
Okay, so I happen to know, listeners, viewers, that Tony's background is in music, and I think his heart is always at least a little bit there. So I would like to know, Tony, how music has defined how you see the world and how it shows up in business, even.
mm. I mean, music still, as you can tell by the background here,
Yeah.
got a half a dozen or eight guitars in the background, and it's always been a driving force and still is in my life. Um, where music came uh, came to be important to me was I started out playing, and then at an early age, I was always the guy who got the gigs, so I was better at that booking the bands than I was enjoying playing out and being up till 3 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah.
So, because I'm not a night owl. So, bottom line, I played out for probably 3 years and then stopped and then started booking my friends' bands when I was 18.
Mm.
When I went to
Mhm.
college in 1969, I started a little company that kept going until 1981. Uh, Music, the business of music, taught me a lot. Um, this is called the humanity of selling, right? Um, I started at 15 years old with a walking up and down Vernon Street in Hartford, Connecticut. Vernon Street had all of the fraternities at Trinity College,
Ah.
and I had a band. And I would walk up and down that street with a little metal disc that was called an acetate. So if you went into the studio back then and paid a bloody fortune to record a couple of songs, you could have this metal disc, which is covered in a plastic, put on a lathe, and they would actually cut a demo record for you. And I would walk up and down the street, knocking on the doors, talking to social chairmen from these different fraternities on a Saturday afternoon, bringing my little demo, and they'd put it on their uh, phonograph, and they'd listen to it. And half the time, they'd book my band for like $60. By the way, for 4 hours.
You are so dating yourself with this
$60
story,
in
Tony.
1966, I think it was. So, but what I learned was confidence. What I'm in over my head. I'm in over my head talking to people who I thought were adults. They're college kids. But I didn't know that. I was 15, 16, and I'm talking to kids who are 19, 20, 21. They were old. So it gave me confidence. So the music business gave me confidence. Then you started to deal with a little more rough and tumble characters, nightclub owners, half a wise guy gangster types,
Yeah.
who run these places. And, you know, I had one of my bands call me up once to tell me they got pistol whipped the night before when they went to get paid. And I called the guy up who ran this club. I said, "What'd you do?" He said, "Well, I didn't like the way they asked to get paid." So my point is that those experiences at a really young age um, gave me a certain amount of confidence to deal with just about any situation. Um, and my love of music is what drove me. My love of music was I wanted to find a singer, a songwriter, a band. And my job was very, very cut and dried. I didn't want to take them to the top. I didn't see that as my role. What I wanted to do back then was give them an opportunity to earn a living, quit their day jobs, get better at what they did, and then become a workaday band where they could absolutely make a living and then pursue music full time. And some of those people went on to do great things. The last group I had anything to do with that meant anything was a group called Twisted Sister back in the early 80s.
Oh, yeah. Wow.
So, and I wasn't involved with them at the very beginning at all. These were people who wound up taking over my company, the music business, back in the late 70s when I sold that. But music has given me a foundation for
Mhm.
understanding just about everything. And I take the same responsibility and accountability for being the advocate for talent now. I want to work with people whose ideas I love, people whose ideas I believe in, people who I like as people. Because at 75 in July, I don't have time to sort of spend
Yeah, life's too
working
short
and
to
putting
spend
my
with
effort
people
into
that you don't
folks who,
like.
yeah, we want to have fun together. And
Exactly.
we do. And we do.
Yes.
So, music was where it all started. It's gotten me to this point, those sorts of values and that experience. It's been a fun journey, and the journey continues.
Well, I mean, here's the interesting thing. I think a lot of salespeople who are listening right now would say at 15, he was being innovative, confident, and he got 50% of the people to hire him.
Yeah, yeah.
That's pretty darn good. I mean, if we all had those numbers, I think that that we'd be feeling pretty good, right? Okay, so this time is flying by, Tony. Gosh, what do you wish? What do you wish people knew, like about moving forward in the world? Like, what message would you want to share out there?
Yeah, great speaker who I work with, who has a wonderful line. Sunil Gupta, who he is Sanjay Gupta's brother.
Hmm.
Sanjay Gupta, the CNN medical chief medical correspondent. Sunil's work is just really wonderful. And I'm going to use a line that he had come up with based on one of the interviews he did with, I think, Ben and Jerry or one of these entrepreneurs that he was interviewing for the American Express um, business class series that he did, which is on Amazon Prime. And that's that what's good for you is good for your business. What
Mm.
that means is if you take 10 minutes away from your desk to go make a cup of coffee, to walk the dog, you may think, I got to be here and buckle down. I got to get this all done. I don't have time. But what was astounding was this prevailing feeling from all of the people that he interviewed was they had a sense of understanding that they had to keep the flame lit in order to keep business moving and follow their passion. But what was good for them personally is good for their business. Take
Mm.
care of yourself, in other words.
Couldn't have said it better myself. I do it. And everyone that I come in contact with who has that thing that they're passionate about or takes the time to take care of themselves or take a walk out in nature or just breathe, they show up in a different way.
They
So
do.
yeah, they really do. So the humanity of sales, where purpose meets profit, isn't just about those connections with other people and, turning those wonderful, amazing relationships into profitable ones and growing your business, but it starts with a connection that we have with ourselves. It has to start there. So,
Yeah.
Tony, gosh, as always, I absolutely love spending time with you. I always walk away better for it. You live the humanity of sales where purpose meets profit, and I'm grateful to have this time with you today. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you. It's been a pleasure.
I had a wonderful conversation with Tony D'Amelio today, and I am so honored to be able to share him and his wisdom with you right here on the Humanity of Sales, where purpose meets profit. I have really cool people that I know and that are in the lineup to come and join me on the Humanity of Sales. So make sure to subscribe so that you don't miss any of these incredible conversations. And hey, if you like it, let us know about it and definitely share it with a friend. We look forward to seeing you back here again for the next Humanity of Sales, where purpose meets profit.